swing trading, whitelist flips, new metas, and blue chips. These are just some of the ways that you can make money in Ordinals. Now down below there are chapters so you can fast forward to these sections that you want to help you navigate the video easier. Also, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Please do your own research before moving in on the crypto and NFT space. Now, first off, we're going to talk about swing trading and how you can actually profit off swing trading. Looking at this is Runestone. Now, this has dropped literally within the last 24 hours. Now, this is a perfect setup and an explanation about what happens with the nature of the market and the ebbs and flows that you get. So if you dive in and have a look at the chart, you can see that initially we were around that 0.2 mark. We then had this straight pull down to around 0.15, up to around 0.17, down again to around that 0.12, and then back up to a 0.15, back down to the 0.11, and then back up to the 0.15. Now, the way that this is zigzagging and chopping on the way down, you don't need to swing trade all of these, but you can take clips in between. When a bottom comes in, then there usually ends up that portion of the sort of supply hitting the market. Some buyers come in, which then makes the price rise up. How much can you profit from swing trading? Even if you take one of the lowest ones, so you get in at that 0.11 and then you exit at that 0.15, that's a 0.004 BTC gain, which is around $250. Now, to show you that it's not just runestones, it's not just a fluke, if you have a look at Quantum Cats, now this was relatively hyped, you can see a similar thing. We had these initial sales drop down as low as the 0.15. They then ran up to around that 0.25, back down to the 0.175, and then back up. This is over about a month period, these swings, but these swings are there. But on the day, you did have people that wanted to just exit as soon as they can, which dropped the price down to 0.15. The mint price was 0.1, which then meant that it had that rebound for a 0.1 profit quite easily. Now, it's not just these huge, big projects, something like PME, Puppet, MaxiBiz, which is a double derivative. This thing started at a 0.02-ish, 25, then down to the 0.01 mark, then up to the 0.03 mark, and then back again. You can see it down to the 0.015 and then to the 0.025. Even if you took a clip in the middle, you can still profit off this. Now, this swing trading usually only works for projects that have a lot of attention, a lot of hype, and a lot of liquidity. They can taper off, just as you can see here, like this within a day. So they can actually drop off and have nowhere to swing in between. But the good thing about Ordinals is when you do make these purchases, there is a pending motion. So someone can buy in, they're almost holding onto it for 5 or 10 minutes, which then means that a bottom can be put in and then it can rise back up. So you're almost forcing people to hold for that 10, 15, 20 minute mark, which can then actually help out the floor price. And that's where you get these wild swings. If I was to swing trade, I would be looking for projects that are very hyped and projects that look like they are getting swept up when there is that lack of supply hitting the market. So straight after a mint, I wouldn't be in there 5 minutes after the mint, but 30 minutes, an hour after mint, or when it starts to sell out, you know that there's going to be less supply hitting the market, which means that you can then catch it and then ride it back up. Swing trading is very risky, but if you have some capital lying around, you can usually gauge if you can actually pick up something that is at a better entry point, so maybe 50% above the mint price, then you know it's most likely going to do a 2 to 3x. You're in safe hands, and usually where the prices start off at, they usually rebound to. If we have a look at Quantum Cats, are rebounded back to there. If you have a look at Runestone, it starts to rebound back there. And as you can see with Puppet MaxiBiz, that 0.025 back down, it ran back up. So if it's a hyped project, there will be people looking for fast, instant liquidity. It's a race to the bottom. Then once there is no more racing to the bottom, it's a slingshot back up. So that is how you can swing trade. Now, the next thing is trends, how you can actually trade off trends. Now, an example of a trend or a meta is Natcats. Now, Natcats, when this popped off, it has a very interesting, unique way of putting images on the blockchain where the images aren't actually on the blockchain. It's too technical to kind of get through it. But once they got listed, the hype built up, people wanted to get in on it, but they got priced out, and this is when derivatives and the meta change. If you actually head to Magic Eden, you type in Nat, you've got Natcats, but then you've got Nat Tributes, Nat Punks, Nat Monkeys, and then it goes on there. If you type in DMT, you can see DMT Chaos, DMT Shrooms. So the idea here is that if something takes off, usually all the derivatives that follow after that do take off and do quite well. Now, these collections, they mint for almost almost free, and you can see them running up to decent levels. So even though NatPunks was sitting at a $28 price now, you can see that there were some crazy run-ups in floor price because people were trying to jump onto that next meta. So when a particular project pops off, gets a lot of hype, gets a lot of action, usually there will be derivatives, there will be a meta, there will be a trend towards it, and then getting in on these early can print absolute cash. And because they are derivatives, they're usually done for free. These are links that are sent in Discords, people chatting, alpha groups, things like that, and that's how you can catch onto these and actually make a quick rip. But if I was to trade a derivative, I would sell it because you can see here they usually all go to zero. Now the next thing is the whitelist flips. Now this is when you get access to a project and you buy it in for a low price, and you can essentially instantly arbitrage up the sale. With Pizza Ninjas, these minted at 0.03 BTC, and on the initial sale they actually ran up to around that 0.15. But there were a lot of sales just over that 0.1. So you're saying it was a 0.07 guaranteed rip, with a 0.1 if you were very lucky getting in early and selling the top. So a 0.1 rip right there is nice, instant, easy cash. Now it's not just a one-off. With Quantum Cats, the mint price was 0.1, and you can see here someone essentially paper-handed it for a 0.11. But after that, the lowest you would have made was a 50% gain if you'd gotten in. And with something like Puppet MaxiBiz, this thing was a free mint. It ran up to a 0.03. The lowest you would have sold it for was at least a 0.01, quite easily, unless you paper handed it. That's a nice easy $600 gain. How can you get whitelisted for something like Pizza Ninjas? How can you get whitelisted for something like Quantum Cats or even Puppet MaxiBiz? There are a few different ways. One of the ways is holding on to top collections. Top collections usually get allocated spots upcoming for these projects, which means that they have access to them instantly. Projects will use big blue chip projects, which we'll touch on shortly, as a marketing tool. They go, hey, we've got Node Monkeys, hey, we've got Puppets, hey, we've got OMBs minting our project, which then usually gets it's the marketing tactic to get like the other market participants to then think it's a high quality project, to then move in, to then buy in on the mint or off the secondary. Now the next way is to grind. Now this can be grinding through making content like I make it. It could be writing threads, it could be making fan art, whatever it is to get the attention of the project, which then usually gets them to like it, retweet it, whatever it is, because they want that support, which then means that you can then ask and request a spot. Jump in, slide in a DM and be like, hey, check out this post that I've made. I'd love to get whitelisted for the project. Thank you very much. That can usually help. With something like Pizza Ninjas, you just had to reduce some tasks. You then got points and you're essentially given a whitelist. And that is a good way for someone that wants to put in some of that work to then make a gain. And as you can see, if you hit the right ones, you can make a fortune. The other way is alpha groups. Now these can be private paid ones, and they can also be private free ones. Now, some of the people that I respect in the space that do quite well are Crypto Gorilla. Crypto Gorilla has a private group where he gives out whitelist spots for things, and some of those will be Bitcoin ordinals. You then have NFT Boy. He has his group. He is very tapped into the ordinals ecosystem, which means that if he can get any spots for his group and his crew, he will. Ash Robin, I respect him. Absolutely love what he does with Canto Labs. He also brings in some spots. Now, yes, those are influencers, but you also have groups like Taproot Alpha. Now, this, you can get into the Discord and you're essentially in the waitlist section of the server. If you then know someone that can then vouch for you, essentially be your sponsor, you can then get in. These guys will get spots and allocations because people want to hustle to provide value for the group, which in return gives them a chance at getting in on the project. But also they do share alpha on upcoming projects. But then you also have people like me. I've got a Discord. You can join the Discord. If I do get allocated some spots from a project, I then funnel them through and pass them out. What you should do is join as many servers as you can. This will then mean you can then enter into raffles, and then eventually when you speak to people in different servers, you will then start to realize who the people are that are giving out different spots, people that are talking about the flips and the gains that they've made off particular projects. You can then see what products they offer and then move in. Paid groups, they can be looked down upon by some people, but the idea is if you were to go out and grind that whitelist yourself, being in a server, create some content, do that, you essentially have someone doing that for you, and then by paying them, they're providing you with a chance or a better chance at getting it within a raffle. So that is how you can actually get whitelisted for projects. Now, the last way that you can actually make cash in the Ordinals ecosystem is by investing in the blue chip ecosystems. Now, I actually did a video, I'll link it up here. It was talking about the rise of ordinals and where they can go and actually do a little bit of a breakdown. You can see here I broke down some charts about where ordinals can go, where how it's mirroring Ethereum and where it can go, and hence why ordinals is a very good play. So check that out after you watch this video, of course. But if you actually move in on some of these ecosystems, when the hype and attention sort of comes back into ordinals, they usually flow back into these top projects. Now, if you head to something like Magic Eden, you go over 30 days, you will usually see the top projects again and again over and over. Now, when we have a look at something like Node Monkeys, right now, if you look at the 24-hour, it doesn't look like it's doing too well. You would think that it is dead, but if you have a look at the rest of the market, it's really down. This is sitting not that far down. Now, looking at Node Monkeys over a 1 month period, so this is just 1 month, you can see here that they had this rise from around that 0.25 mark all the way up to just shy of 1 Bitcoin, and then is cruising back down to around that 0.5 mark. Now with Bitcoin Puppets, you see a similar thing. You can see here they were sitting around that 0.07 mark, and then they just had this meteoric rise up to around a quarter Bitcoin, and then have since pulled back. And then with the OMBs, you're seeing the exact same thing. Now, yes, looking at those, it looks like they ran up and they pulled back. But when you actually have a look on a longer time frame, they run up, they consolidate, they run up, they consolidate. Now, this mimics what we have seen in Ethereum in 2021, 2022. When you have a look at Bored Ape Yacht Club, it is a similar thing. You can see here, it just ran up, consolidated, ran up, consolidated. It just seemed to go up until you hit that peak. So when you actually zoom out on a longer time frame, if the blue chips do hold attention and comes back to ordinals, then you're in a good spot. Now, holding these blue chips, as I'll call them, it is quite risky and it is quite capital intensive. It's risky because you are risking a large amount of capital and you don't know if you're actually going to be buying in on the top, and then you're going to have to hold on for a longer point of time, with opportunity cost being the expense. But then you also have the aspect that if no big new wave comes through of attention from ordinals, and I 100% believe they will, then you could be left in a spot when you look at a chart like this, when you could be buying in at the top and it's just all down from there. But holding in these blue chips, you usually do get the ability to get whitelisted for upcoming projects, which is good, but then you also get the gain and the compound, essentially the leveraged action on Bitcoin, the chain itself. So that is a look at the different ways that you can profit trading Bitcoin ordinals. If you found value in this video, go down there, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and let me know what it is about ordinals that you like trading. I had a pleasure making this video. Hopefully you enjoyed watching it, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.